The rain has closed in with a vengeance here at Oulton Park. The front row for the second 750 race, however, intact. Pole position, as in the first, Rob McElnay. Things are going to be quite interesting, though, because Carl Fogarty, riding the number 44, and there he is, has an awful lot to prove. Did not take part in the restarted first leg because he was the faller. But the machine apparently all well, and world endurance champion Carl Fogarty with an awful lot of work to do. In the middle of the grid on the VFR 750 Honda from H.E.A.T, Steve Hislop. Hislop had a respectable first run in that he finished in 6th place, so very much in the points, 10 points from his first outing. We'll be endeavouring to add to that. James Whittam, the man who won leg 1, looking for the double here today, so 20 points already under his belt, James, and he is very much fancied in the wet. The conditions here appalling. Ray Stringer, another man who can go very well in adverse conditions. Making their way on round the warm-up lap, but there you can see it. Whittam took the first win from McElnay. David Jeffries, a startling 3rd place. Ray Stringer, Brian Morrison and Steve Hislop. So 20 points go to Whittam for the win. The points 20, 17, 15, 13, 11, 10, all the way down to 1 point for 15th place as the riders reform on a very soggy grid indeed. Roger, this is not going to be easy, but clearly some of the riders will like these conditions more than others.
Yeah, of course, the conditions are totally different from the first leg, and this will really prove to be a totally different race.
10 laps. This will be shortened from the original, so something of a short sprint for them by modern day standards. This, the 750cc Super Cup leg 2 at Oulton Park, is go. Everyone safely away down towards Old Hall Corner, and Fogarty chopping and changing in the middle of the pack, but again it was the number 6, James Whittam, who hit the front. There's a lot of water about, and they are really treading on ice in these conditions. Look at the spray. It must be almost impossible for anyone lower down than 10th place to even see what's going on. Whittam, however, hit the front. Fogarty has got quite a bit to do, and he won't want to go home from this meeting with no points at all, so Fogarty just sitting there behind Jamie Whittam. Number 44, Carl Fogarty in 2nd. Race leader, however, from Huddersfield, looking for a double, James Whittam, but 10 laps in these conditions, extremely tricky indeed.
Extremely tricky indeed, to say the least. As you said, visibility is going to be the biggest problem here today. With the cameras too, as you can see, that's rain on the lens that's causing that problem. But really, you've got to point the bike and keep the throttle open. It's a bit like going down the motorway behind a lorry that's with loads of spray coming off it. But on the motorway, you can adjust your speed. Here, you've got to go flat out. Whittam has no one in front, and you can see the onboard camera on James Whittam's bike, and he's the man that can set the pace. He's got the road clear ahead. You see it shake a little bit there as the back wheel spun as it came over the hill. Coming into Druids, the double right-hander, and that's the view that James Whittam's got. But very, very slippery Oulton Park, and isn't he lucky that there's no one in front?
A lot of water about then. Rob McElnay, number 2, up into 2nd place. Fogarty slipping down the order. Steve Hislop, who is an extremely accomplished rider, 9 TT wins under his belt, and Steve Hislop adapting very well to the short circuits on the incredibly quick and very light, and I have it on fairly good authority that his bike is about 25 kilos lighter than the production RC30 Honda. So again, Whittam and teammate neck and neck. Rob McElnay, number 2, but we're riding with the number 6 bike of Jamie Whittam back in front again. He desperately wants to get clear road ahead of him. These two Yamahas proving to be invincible. They came home in 1st and 2nd places respectively in leg 1. Hislop on that occasion was 6th, but now he's 3rd. Number 11 then, Steve Hislop on the Honda, the only Honda on the front row. In fact, the only Honda really in the race worth mentioning, because his teammate Phil McCallan did not finish the first encounter. McCallan in 12th place at the moment, so Fogarty on the Ducati in 4th. This is the 3rd place man, Steve Hislop, and it would be very nice, so a very nice fillip to Hislop's confidence, back with Whitham again, if Hislop could pull this one off. But he's going to have to pull something out of the bag, I suspect. Whitham's a hard man to beat in these conditions.
Whitham's a hard man to beat in any conditions, to be quite honest. Rob McElnay would like to beat him. Rob hasn't beat him at all this year, and Rob is the team leader of the Yamaha team. Hislop's not giving up at all, and I noticed that Hislop's bike was not particularly finding as much grip as the two leaders, and that's because I noticed it shaking and wobbling a little bit when he was trying to get the power down out of the corners, and you saw it just there in the screen. But Hislop won't let that problem worry him. He's got plenty of power with the RVF. He's good on the brakes, and everything has to be operating very, very smoothly in these difficult conditions.
Number 11 then, with the pink helmet, Steve Hislop, now putting the two Yamaha riders under extreme pressure. Rob McElnay looking for the outside line round his teammate James Whitham, but Whitham just hanging on to the advantage. A couple of lengths, you can see the gap for yourselves, that's all it is. The rain is absolutely tipping down here now, and conditions becoming, well, certainly predictable. You can see that there's a lot of water about, and the riders know that there's no halfway house. It is very, very wet. They have to treat the circuit with an enormous amount of respect and just forget about lap records, just stay on and win the race. James Whitham then, 4-5 lengths the gap. Rob McElnay sitting there in that 2nd place, but 33 years of age McElnay just keeping a watching brief, sitting there like a Labrador waiting to pick the meat up off the table, I think. But, and a snake from Jamie Whitham's Yamaha, locking up the back wheel, won't be using too much rear brake in these conditions. And look at Steve Hislop on the RVF Honda. Hislop in 3rd, looking good. Carl Fogarty still hanging on to 4th. Brian Morrison has moved the Kawasaki, and the Norton, with Moody at the helm, is up into 6th.
Surprisingly, Fogarty's not pulling out the stops, and that's Brian Morrison, who's got ahead of Fogarty by the looks of things, so that puts Brian Morrison up into 4th place on the Kawasaki, but no catching these guys. Whitham is dynamic when it comes to wet weather riding. He's got a very good style. You notice that he leans off the bike and keeps the machine as upright as possible, which is the best way that he's going to get grip out of the bike. There he goes. He leans off the bike, tries to keep the bike as upright as possible, nearly disappears over the side of it there. But that's by far the best style to ride in these conditions.
Could well be these two Yamaha men might just trip each other up. And lurking there in 3rd place, though, of course, Steve Hislop, number 11, and he's in a beautiful position. He's far enough back, unlike the first encounter when he almost collided with Carl Fogarty as Fogarty tipped off. Steve Hislop on that occasion had to take to the grass. He's just staying back far enough to keep a watching brief that should anything befall these two, and it's Whitham just holding off from Rob McElnay. 5 lengths, you can see how close it is, just a fraction of a second. Number 44, Carl Fogarty, has retired from the top 6 and is indeed in the pits now. That puts Jim Moody on the Norton up into 5th. And a good result, 6th place for Rutter, just 21 years of age. So Rutter now in the top 6 in his first full Super Cup series. Good result for him, son of Tony Rutter, former TT regular, and a big moment there for Steve Hislop.
What's important to do is for the riders to keep off the white lines. The white lines are particularly slippery. There's a huge gap, you see, between 3rd and this is the 4th place man, bike number 5, Brian Morrison. Then we have another big gap towards the Norton, and that's not the Norton, that's Michael Rutter. The Norton is behind on bike number 25, so Michael Rutter's got ahead of the Norton, but Moody will be finding that bike difficult to ride in these conditions, although it's got a wide spread of power. Tricky to ride, definitely. My bet is, though, that McElnay's sitting here, sitting and waiting behind Whitham, and Rob McElnay certainly has a smoother riding style, although I do believe that Whitham has the aggression.
It's all going on at the front of the race, as you can see. This is frantic action between two teammates. There won't be any team orders, but they will obviously have not just their own, but each other's interests at heart. Jamie Whittam, you can see the rain absolutely bucketing down, but he's got a good, clear track ahead of him, but he knows full well that Rob McElnay is sniffing first to the left, then to the right, climbing all over the back of the number 6, Jamie Whittam. But the young Yorkshireman, just 26, having to keep his head round here in very, very difficult conditions indeed. The water just lying in deep pools in certain parts of the track. This is the right-hander, cranked hard over, second gear out of here, not too much throttle, feeding it in very, very gently, pulling away. The beauty of a big four-stroke is does have a relatively smooth power delivery. If this were a 500cc two-stroke Grand Prix bike, I think it might just be a different story. But Whittam, number 6, and he might be riding one of those at Oulton Park at the British Grand Prix, who knows? McElnay still there in second, and over the top of the hill, it's still Steve Hislop.
Hislop's been trailed off a little bit now. It could be down to the brand of tyre that Hislop uses. He uses Michelin tyres, and these two men at the front are using Dunlops, which are seeming to prove to find the best grip at this stage. I did notice that the first corner after the start and finish, which they're going to be approaching very soon, after Old Hall, Lodge Corner coming up, Old Hall is the one that I'm talking about. There is a very big puddle forming on the apex of that corner, so the riders are having to alter their line.
The lone Honda then of Steve Hislop in pursuit of these two men. Number 6, Jamie Whittam, then Rob McElnay. Jamie Whittam, who has had 6 wins from 7 major national starts this year, is on his way to make it 7 wins from 8 starts. But Rob McElnay, number 2, has very different ideas and would certainly like to do something about getting past his teammate and maybe regain the crown that was his in 1991. James Whittam, on the other hand, has never won the Supercup championship, and it would be a really nice year for him, and I think this could well be James Whittam's year if he goes on the way he started the season, and he can do it in all conditions. You can see just how well he's riding in the wet. He's certainly very impressive in the dry. Formation riding between these two, but McElnay might just push James Whittam into a mistake. At the chicane, they're dropping Steve Hislop away just a fraction now. The Yamaha's pulling away. The gap almost 3 seconds between second and third place man.
Buckingham up to 5th, you see there, and Michael Rutter, the youngest rider in the race. I think he's just 19 years old, in 6th place, so the Stuart Med team will be very happy with him as McElnay and Whittam speed up Clay Hill, come into view towards Druids, and McElnay's having a go. He's having a go, and through goes McElnay, and there you see the shot from James Whittam's bike of the big burly Humberside of Rob McElnay in front of him. Whether Whittam's going to out-drag him down to Old Hall Corner, and he's up the inside on the brakes. Fantastic stuff this, but McElnay's not having any of it, closes the door, and this could be Big Rob's chance to beat his teammate, young Whittam.
Superb pictures. McElnay now 2 lengths away, but Whittam won't take this lying down, I can assure you, and rockets past. He's on the outside, and he's going to have to tip the bike in round the outside of McElnay, which he does superbly with an almighty twitch from the rear end. But Whittam again has got his nose out in front. There's a tail ender ahead of them, and this could pose a problem for James Whittam. Whether he goes to the right or to the left, he'll have to make a split-second decision. Number 38, the tail ender, Tim Lee, is about to be zapped, I think, by these two Yamaha men. In fact, there it is happening. Island Bend, up towards the right-hander again. Jamie Whittam, having had just a few seconds of second place, wasn't too keen on it, thought, well, maybe I'd better get out in front where I could see where I'm going. A point worthy of mention is that up into 5th place, as Roger Burnett said, Alex Buckingham, the Barnstable rider.
This was quite a sensational manoeuvre by James Whittam to go all the way around the outside of a rider in dry conditions or wet conditions. Really does take some doing. But I think Rob McElnay was hesitant because you could see there was a large puddle on the apex of that corner, and it really is affecting the riders' lines around there, and that will continue all the way through to the end of the race. Whittam really has opened a gap now, and I can only think that we've lost McElnay. McElnay must be lost somewhere because Whittam's sliding and snaking around, but he wouldn't have pulled that great distance out on McElnay in the amount of space. But we'll have to wait and see what's happened.
It's just been confirmed that Rob McElnay is coasting, there you can see. So McElnay's race is over, a great pity for the Humbersider. So 17 points from the first encounter and 0 from phase 2. But Whittam, then the race leader, has got a long, almost a 7-second advantage now over number 11, Steve Hislop. Everybody moves up a place as a result of that, of course. And now that we have just a second, it's worthy of mention, I think, that Alex Buckingham, number 9, is now up to 4th place, having by far his best season in many, many years. But look at the gap, nearly 7 seconds between Hislop and Whittam. And Steve Hislop has absolutely no answer for James Whittam, who, having shaken off the challenge from Rob McElnay, knows that all he has to do now is cruise. The action further down the field, of course, is between Mike Rucker, number 27. That's Alex Buckingham, the man in black, number 9. Alex Buckingham is chasing with Mike Rutter slipping past. Mike Rutter, number 27, from Brierley Hill, and the 21-year-old son of very famous TT regular Tony Rutter is having a tooth and nail scrap with Alex Buckingham from Barnstable, number 9, and Buckingham looking very polished, and he's going well. Let's hope they don't overcook it, because the temptation is, in this sort of close company, that somebody might squeeze it just too hard. McCallan's in there as well.
The other difficulty that we haven't talked about is the rider's own problem of the visor on their crash helmet misting up. You'll notice that some of the riders have a mask over their nose which stops their breath going onto the inside of the shield on their helmet. Sometimes that steams up, a bit like the inside of the window condensating, and that, of course, is a very difficult thing to overcome.
Number 5 in shot there, Brian Morrison now, and Morrison is coming under a bit of pressure from Alex Buckingham. And he really is riding well. It's the best performance I've seen. A cautionary glance over the shoulder from Morrison. It could be Morrison's got problems, and I think he has. He's not looking very confident at all. Seemed to be slowing there, Brian Morrison, but then everybody seems to be easing off in these conditions. This just a 10-lap race. That's a short dash, and it's getting very, very wet indeed. Buckingham now catching Morrison. Morrison's number 5, tail ender ahead of them. And Alex Buckingham, with the bit firmly between his teeth, is in pursuit of the team green owner, I dare say. I mean, Morrison now runs his own bikes. He's virtually a privateer. And through on the inside goes Alex Buckingham. You carry on, old son, says Brian Morrison. It's too wet for me. And a good ride now. Mick Rutter, number 27, is being dropped away as well. And Phil McCallan's still sitting there in 6th.
I'm absolutely sure that we lost Philip McCallum at Old Hall Corner. He didn't come into the picture there, and he did cross the start and finish line, so I'm sure we've lost him. Michael Rutter, he was having that dice with Michael Rutter there, Alex Buckingham, and he's not in the picture at the moment, so perhaps we've lost him at Old Hall.
I did actually see some straw bales going end over end, and there it is, McCallan standing up on the bank there. So his race is over. There's Morrison, number 5, has by no means given up. Morrison has really found second wind. Mike Rutter's gone past Alex Buckingham, and this is really where the action is. We're looking at the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th places, and it really is going to go all the way down to the wire, I think. And look at Rutter around the outside, maybe. No, Morrison said there's no way through. He's not about to sit back and just let them walk all over him, I suspect.
No, Rutter's doing very, very well because of his inexperience. It's probably only his second season on a 750. He's not very old. Morrison has a wealth of experience. He won the Le Mans Endurance World Championship event just a few weeks ago. He was third at the Brands Hatch World Superbike round this year for Kawasaki. And Michael Rutter does an overtaking manoeuvre that was quite considerable. He's got to lean the bike over that, going round the outside of that puddle there. Morrison's having difficulty. Alex Buckingham looks like he's going to challenge him.
Difficult to think that number 27, Mike Rutter, just 2 years ago was in the Super Team Series, and here he is mixing it with the very best that Great Britain has to offer on admittedly very damp conditions, but he certainly is one of the rising stars, and obviously a lot of father's experience has been instilled into him over the years. He was racing motorbikes, or rather riding motorbikes, from a very, very early age, and that is equally demonstrated, I think, here. Morrison on the inside again at the hairpin. Alex Buckingham just dropping away a little bit. Out in front, though, James Whittam very firmly in control on his way to a 40-point payday here at Oulton Park. Is looking totally unruffled. The checkered flag is out. James Whittam, number 6, whistles home to yet another double victory and a very good payday. Back further on then, the scrap for third place as H.E.A.T collects second. Which one of these two, I think, not 3 riders, because Buckingham is now really out of it. It's between Morrison and Rutter. And is Morrison going to find something in the closing stages? H.E.A.T over the line for second place, number 11. Such was the gap. This is third place in dispute here. Rutter knows they'll be in sight as they drop down round the right-hander. Then the start line, having gone through the dip, is almost in sight. Accelerating out of this corner, Rutter from Morrison, and this is very tricky because it's slippery here, and it was anybody's guess, but I think Morrison might just have stolen it. I wouldn't like to put money on that one. Very fast, but a great finish. No mistaking the winner, however, number 6, Jamie Whittam. He's pretty pleased. Confirmation of that second leg win. Jamie Whittam indeed made it the double. From Steve Hislop, Mike Rutter came home, Brian Morrison, Alex Buckingham and Matt Llewellyn was 6th. That makes it an extremely good day's work for Jamie Whittam, who goes home with 40 points from the first round of the Supercup Championship. Hislop in second place, Morrison, Rutter, Matt Llewellyn and Ray Stringer tie for 5th place.